Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to my next listing. Man, 2 days in a row. Holy crap. Anyway, I was so inspired by the Pioneer, that PLA 450B I just sold. That was on here for a long time, the old school one. And the guy who got it, he's got a great Pioneer system. It sounded so darn good. I pulled out another old one I've been sitting on here for a long time. This is a JVC JL-B31m. Direct drive manual turntable. It's recapped and restored. It's got that old school sound too, man. It is ready to rock. And with my boy Snoop Dogg back in his donut, we'll explain that in a minute. Let's go ahead and look at the features and functions of this really cool machine. So my boy's back in his donut. He figured out how to lick past the Olivia Newton-John leggings. And I just want to get him, the mole's starting to grow back in, so I'm trying to get that there. But man, great day-to-day with him. I started him on Farmer's Dog, the kind of gourmet food. He was eating Science Diet and stuff, but I swear, I was opening up cans and they had like little pieces of like fatty mold and stuff in it. I mean, processed dog food is crap. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And I thought it was really him, but when I put that first serving of that Farmer's Dog out today, the turkey, he wolfed that down like it was his birthday and Christmas put together. He loved it. So, like I said, it's expensive, but he's my dog, so there's nothing too expensive for my boy. But because of that, I'm really happy. Well, let me tell you something that's not going to be expensive. This turntable, okay? This is a JVC JL-B31. It's manual direct drive turntable. As I mentioned in the last segment, this guy Martin bought that PLA 450 Pioneer that I had. That it sat for a long time because it was kind of quirky and old school. But he had sent me a 2M Blue Ortofon to put on it. Oh my God, it sounded so good. I spent hours listening to Spinner's records and that Smith album, and so it just took you back. It just really did. So I've been sitting on this turntable for a while. I thought, maybe it's not gonna be very expensive. Maybe I'm gonna mess with it. But I thought, what the hell, man? After that, it kind of inspired me. The front edge of this thing was a little bit chewed up, so I just put a trim strip here because, like I said, the rest of it you can see is nice and sharp all over. So that trim strip covers it up, makes it look really nice. Other than that, look at it. It's freaking awesome. It's got an Audio Technica. It's like a VM95, whatever came before the 95. An 1895, that's what it is. 1895E. Pitch control for 33 and 45. VTA adjustment for miles. I've recapped it with, Manichicons and Panasonics and looped the motor and, cleaned all these switches and everything I do to them, I did to this one. So it is ready to rock. And man, I'm just shocked how freaking good it sounds. So anyway, as you can see, I already have my record on here for today because I want to get a jump on this thing. This guy is a musician's musician. He's really well known within the business because a lot of people ended up covering his stuff. He would do a record and then singers would scour the records to get songs themselves. And not very well known name, very common name, that's a problem, but not very well known even to this day. But man, he's just one of the best unknown guys I think that I've ever featured here. So maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't. Let's take a trip back and see if you guys know anything about Tim Moore. So my artist of the day is Tim Moore. It's a pretty common name, Tim Moore. A lot of musicians named Tim Moore. But this is the OG Tim Moore. The Tim Moore to end all Tim Moores. He is the best. I guess there's a guy in Australia that's pretty well known as Tim Moore. But anyway, this Tim Moore started out, he was born in the 50s in Philly. He self-taught himself a bunch of instruments. He's a musical savant kind of guy. I mean, he played everything. His first band in the mid-60s was called DC and the Senators. They played mostly covers. But they got in at some of the bigger clubs in Philly, and they actually got to open for the Stones and the Beach Boys and the Velvet Underground stuff when they came through, which was pretty cool. He left that band, and he actually was a drummer. He was playing guitar in DC and the Senators. He became a drummer in a band called Woody's Truck Stop, which also featured a young guy named Todd Rundgren. Okay, that kind of fizzled out after a little bit, and with a buddy of his, he formed a duo or a band called the Muffins. And there was a song that Tim wrote called Subway Traveler that actually got a little bit of buzz. It's kind of like Herman's meet every other garage band one-hit wonder that you'd find in the 60s, right? But just, really good, solid song, man. But anyway, the Muffins went stale. Okay, and he was back playing coffee houses as a solo guy. And one of the people on this one night was a guy named Frank Zappa. And Zappa loved his really cool chord changes, and because he's a really good guitar player, and his songs really do have a lot of musical dexterity to them, which makes him a little bit special. And so Frank wanted to sign him to his label, and Tim went to New York, was going to go do that. When he found out Frank wasn't going to produce his record, he passed. And I kind of thought that was weird because when you hear this guy, I mean, he's a singer-songwriter. I don't know what Frank Zappa would have done to it, but it probably would have weirded it out. So I don't know what he was thinking Frank was going to do to it, but he passed. So he ends up going back to Philly, and he gets a job as a staff writer for the great Gamble and Huff, the Philly soul icons, man. I mean, they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for a reason. All the great OJ songs and all that great Philly soul stuff. Gamble and Huff were like the power behind it, right? So he was a staff songwriter, and his neighbor was also a staff songwriter. Another guy you might have heard of, a guy named Daryl Hall of Future of Hall and Oates fame, right? So Tim Moore and Daryl Hall, they form a band called Gulliver. And they had one record that came out. Now, for those of you guys who really, this is like old school, Mark. I bet nobody knows about this. Years and years and years and years and years ago, I've been doing these videos for a stupidly long time. You'd think they'd get good. But years and years ago, I featured Gulliver just to show how Turntable worked. I didn't do the whole spiel that I do now about the band history. I probably talked a little bit about it. But that was back before I realized how amazingly brilliant I am at these videos. And I deleted it. I sold the record. Somebody gave me like $25 for the record at a record show. I sold it because I only paid $3 for it. So I don't have that album anymore. I transferred it. I have it on digital, but I don't have it on vinyl. So anyway, after Gulliver, he moved up to Woodstock, New York, which was kind of the thing to do in the early 70s because Bob Dylan had moved there, and Van Morrison had moved there, and the band had moved there. And Lazarus, remember Lazarus feature? They moved there. And everybody wanted to record at Bearsville Studios, which was like, the one that Todd Rundgren and stuff was behind. So he gets a record deal with ABC Dunhill. Yeah. 2 in a row. Same as the a group called Smith from yesterday. So anyway, he gets a deal with Dunhill, but it's a subsidiary there. So it's literally called a small record company. That's the offshoot of ABC. So the song I'm going to play is the first single off of his first album. And wait a minute, stop me if you heard this story before. Right as that record was climbing the charts, a small record company folded, which made Tim Moore a free agent. And the same week that the record company folded, Art Garfunkel of Simon & Garfunkel covered the second song on this album called Second Avenue. And he turned it into like a top 40 hit. So Tim's version of it tanked, or it went in the 60s. Because, you get two different versions of the same song on the charts, and guess what? Art Garfunkel won. So anyway, there was a bidding war to get Tim, because he's a free agent. And Clive Davis and David Geffen both went after him hard. And he ended up signing with David Geffen and going with Asylum. So his second record that came out in 75 is called Behind the Eyes. And it featured his probably best known song. Like I said, this guy writes really good songs and does really good versions of them, but other people tend to pick them up and cover them and make them their own. And that song on the second record that you guys probably know about is a tune called Rock and Roll Love Letter. Yes, that bubblegum poppy kind of sounding song that the Bay City Rollers made into something. Now, if you really follow me, remember when I featured the records, the really great power pop, new wave guys, the records? Mutt Lange had brought Rock and Roll Love Letter to the records and wanted them to cover it, and they turned it down. But the Bay City Rollers covered it, made it a top 5 hit. Okay? So, anyway, like I said, his records are just fantastically produced. The songwriting is great. His voice is cool. He did 2 more major label albums in the 70s. It was called, I think, White Shadows, I think, was in 77, and High Contrast was in 79. And it got, Michael McDonald and Toto and Tim Schmidt from the Eagles and all these guys guested on it. This song I'm going to play here, this first single right here, it's got Donald Fagen of Steely Dan singing backup on it. And Tim returned the favor. Tim sang on Steely Dan's first single that probably a lot of you guys don't know about, a song called Dallas. A lot of Steely Dan fans don't know about Steely Dan before Can't Buy a Thrill. There was a whole other world of Steely Dan going on there. But anyway, Tim Moore sang on that, so he kind of returned the favor. So anyway, he kind of lost his major label deal at that point, but by 1985, he pops back up, and he makes a record called what's called Flash Forward. Okay, and there's a kind of a schmaltzy, sometimes when we touch kind of song on there, honestly. And it's called Yes, and that thing explodes in Brazil of all places. Goes number one for it's number one on the top 10 for 10 weeks. So much so he goes down to Brazil, does a 3-month tour of Brazil. He's on all the big TV shows down there. You can YouTube a video of him down there, singing this song. It's it's a nice little love ballad. It's cool. His biggest song, nothing, But anyway, after 85, he kind of just went away as far as doing records and stuff. There's no real record, but he does pop up occasionally. He's still doing stuff as of 2019. In doing my research, I found a 2014 article about him where he still lives outside the Philly area. And there was a Bob Dylan tribute concert, and he went ahead and put together a crack band of musicians and was going to sing Dylan songs as a tribute to Bob Dylan. And there was some video of it, and I think he was 71 years old then in 2014. He sounded great. He sounded freaking great. So God bless him, man. I don't know if he, COVID stopped him from gigging. I can't really find too much on his current state, but man, just a great unsung, pretty much unknown artist that you've probably heard peripheral stuff around. And like I say, he's a musician's musician. I mean, people who know wanted to work with him and helped him out, and he helped out a lot of people that you know about. So anyway, just fantastic musician, yeah. I mean, just awesome. So check out his stuff. I think all of it, at least the first 3 albums, are on Amazon Music. But you can pick up this vinyl really cheap, and it sounds really good too. They're actually really good recordings. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to show you the features of this turntable real quick. It's manual, so it shouldn't take too long. And I'll play a little bit of the first track here from Tim Moore for you. Let's check it out. So to show you how this works here, it's pretty simple. You got a power button right here, and that starts the motor. It's a manual turntable, so that means, man, you are doing it all. But this starts the motor. You have a 33 and a 45 speed position here. You have individual pitch controls for the 33 and 45. And you have a stroboscope over here that will light up, the different dots correspond to 33 and 45, right? You got a manual cueing button right here. You have your anti-skating right here. Lift your arm right there. There are 2 little thumb screws. There's one here, like there, and like a bunny ear. There's another one over there. You loosen those up, and you can lift the arm up and get VTA. And it's got really nice high VTA on it. And you got a basic ballast style weighted, counterweight. I'm tracking this AT at 2 grams, right? So anyway, that's about as basic as a turntable gets, don't you think? So anyway, you want to play a record on it. You put a record on it. You lift up the arm all the way over. I'm probably going to go ahead and just stop this for a second. My stupid KRKs, if I don't play them every 10 minutes, they shut off. So I just want to have a bunch of sounds here. Let me just pop right back in, and we'll go right to A Fool for You, the first song here from Tim Moore. Yeah, I had to start the KRKs again. Let's go ahead. You turn the power on right here. Just come over here, lower the arm down. I do it slowly, and we take a listen to a little bit of Tim Moore. Oh, I missed it. Look at that. Look at me go. Let me just put it on here for you. Don't drink and drive, Mark. That's the story I'm trying to tell you.
If a fool like you could listen to a fool like me, and if the leaves on the trees could stop shaking in the wind, if a fool like you could listen to a fool like me, maybe, baby, we could stop long enough to begin. Crying with a millionaire is like laughing with the old street bum. Send them all down to the Coliseum, promise them kingdom come. And when the baby cries in the middle of the prayer, you're saying, hurry up, daddy, hurry up, because we're almost there. I tell you, if a fool like you could listen to a fool like me, and if the leaves on the trees could stop shaking in the wind, if
And that is the great Tim Moore. I mean, like I said, just really cool chord progressions, musician. He played some of his albums. He played all the instruments on a lot of the songs. He just had a lot of guests on there just to keep it from being a Prince record with him playing everything, right? So anyway, this is the great Tim Moore. Let me put the dust cover down, tell you about this turntable and how you can make this thing your own, man. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and checking it out. So guys and girls, with the dust cover down and the doggy's still passed out, I love him. Let's go to the map. What can I tell you, man? It's just a good, basic, classic, direct drive, manual turntable, recapped and restored with a cool Audio-Technica cartridge. It sounds fantastic. It's the JVC JL-B31, and I think it's an M for manual. But anyway, check this thing out. This dust cover is in really nice shape. There was an era before the late 70s into the early 80s when they made dust covers out of a totally different kind of hard acrylic plastic. And this shit don't scratch. I mean, you'll see these old JVCs and the really old Pioneers, man. It is hard. Twigs and Seeds did not phase these old dust covers, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to tell you that from personal experience. But yeah, this dust cover is in great shape, man. So anyway, like I said, to make this thing your own, it's only $425 plus the shipping. Come on, man. This eats any Project, U-Turn, Fluence, any of that plastic crap that you can get near. Oh my God, people. I mean, if you haven't had butter before, you think margarine is good. I understand it, But like I said, for someone who wants that kind of classic look with just a nice heavy duty, big ass motor, because this thing's got a big old motor in this thing. It's not no chip motor at all. It is just ready to rock, man. So somebody grab it up, man. I'm just so glad I'm so glad the Pioneers sold it and made me, take another listen to it and pull this out and realize just how cool these old turntables are, man. So people always ask me, what's up, Mark? Why don't you post a list of your turntables? Well, because they sell in a day or two or three or whatever. And I post a list and you go, oh, do you have that one? No. Do you have that one? No. And that just bumps people out. So you follow my listings like this. Always at the end, I usually try to say what I have that's coming up. And what I have coming up next, I believe, is going to be a Denon 57L. Now, that frickin' 59L and that JVC QL-Y5, holy crap, kids. That Y5 is the best probably sounding turntable you can get under $800 or $900. It's awesome. And it's like $590. So anyway, I know times is hard, but like I say, check those ones back out. If it says available on the description of my listing, goddamn it, it's available. Because I mark these things as sold the minute people pay me, because there's nothing worse than, I want it, and you find out that I got rid of it 10 minutes before. So anyway, guys, thank you so much again for checking this stuff out. I so appreciate you, man. I hope you guys are all doing well. Take care, stay safe out there. Get yourself a rescue dog. Maybe don't get a blue donut. I'm gonna maybe try to get a different color for him. I don't know. Anyway, man, I so appreciate you guys. Thank you, everybody. Take care.